The murky waters of Louisiana's bayou churned beneath the violent downpour. Sheets of rain pounded the surface, obscuring vision beyond a few yards. 6 Navy SEALs crouched in waist-deep swamp water, backs to each other, forming a defensive circle. Their ammunition nearly depleted, communications jammed, hope fading with each passing second. Captain James Parker's weathered face betrayed no emotion as he scanned the perimeter. 20 years of special operations had taught him to mask fear, but he knew the score. His team was finished. "We're surrounded, sir," whispered Lieutenant Cooper, his M4 trained on the tree line. "At least 30 tangos closing in. No extraction possible." Through the torrential rain, searchlights swept across the water surface, closing in like predatory eyes. The SEALs had walked straight into an ambush, one that intelligence had somehow missed completely. A voice boomed through the darkness, amplified by a megaphone. The heavy accent of Ahmed Zaref, the terrorist commander they'd been sent to capture. "Americans! There is nowhere to run. Your government has abandoned you. Tonight you die in our swamp." Parker gripped his sidearm tighter. His remaining rounds wouldn't last 30 seconds against their firepower. The intelligence briefing had promised minimal resistance. Another fatal miscalculation. Then, a disturbance in the water. So subtle that Parker nearly missed it. The surface tension changed 20 yards to their left, a ripple different from the rainfall pattern. Something was moving beneath the surface. Before Parker could alert his team, a figure emerged from the depths. A woman, face marked with silvery scars, eyes burning with focused intensity. In her hands, not a standard-issue weapon, but what appeared to be a modernized crossbow. Water cascaded off her tactical gear as she rose silently, took aim, and fired in one fluid motion. The bolt whistled through the rain-soaked air, trailing a nearly invisible wire. It struck the fuel tank of the lead boat with surgical precision. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the night exploded into blinding light as the specialized warhead detonated. The explosion ripped through the enemy position, sending bodies and equipment flying in all directions. Secondary explosions followed as ammunition cooked off. Chaos erupted among the terrorist ranks. Their disciplined advance dissolved into panicked retreat. Through his night vision goggles, Parker watched enemy combatants fleeing in disarray, some firing wildly into the darkness. Then he heard something that made his blood run cold. Shouts of terror in multiple languages. "The Bayou Ghost! She's here! Run!" The mysterious woman had vanished back into the water, leaving only devastation in her wake. Parker's mind raced to understand what he had just witnessed. Who was this woman? How had she known they were in trouble? And why did hardened terrorists flee at the mere sight of her? He would soon learn that some ghosts are born from blood and betrayal, and some legends are written in the water. Fort Bragg, North Carolina, 1995. Colonel Frank Blackwood stood at the edge of the training pool, stopwatch in hand, 68 years of military bearing evident in his ramrod straight posture. Gray hair cropped in the same high and tight he'd worn since Vietnam, weathered face etched with lines from 3 decades of special operations. His retirement paperwork sat half completed on his desk. After campaigns in Vietnam, Panama, and Desert Storm, he had earned his rest. But Commander Phillips had called with one final request. "There's this female candidate," Phillips had said, "part of the new integration program, different from the others. Need your assessment before she continues." Blackwood had reluctantly agreed. He didn't care about politics or integration, only whether soldiers could complete their missions and keep their teams alive. The woman in the pool completed her 15th lap without surfacing for air. Blackwood checked his stopwatch. 5 minutes, 12 seconds. An extraordinary feat even for elite operators with decades of training. When she finally surfaced, her breathing barely elevated, Blackwood's interest deepened. Her file said, "Mia Rivers, age 25, Louisiana native, enlisted at 18, communications specialist volunteered for SEAL integration pilot program. What the file didn't explain was how someone breathed underwater like a damn fish. Impressive breath control, he said as she climbed out of the pool. Your shooting scores, however, are barely passing. Care to explain the disparity? Mia Rivers looked up, meeting his gaze without nervousness or deference. Just calm assessment. Her compact frame was lean and efficient, rather than bulky, different from the typical SEAL physique. Water is my home, Colonel, she replied simply. Guns are just tools I'm learning to use. SEALs are expected to master all their tools. Blackwood kept his tone neutral. Yes, sir, I'm working on it. No excuse, no defensiveness. Blackwood studied her a moment longer. Your file says Louisiana. Where exactly? Bayou Teche. My father was a hunter. And your mother? Got me out after he died. She's gone now, too. Blackwood recognized the wall combat veterans built around certain memories. He'd constructed a few himself. Report to Range C tomorrow, 0500. We'll work on those shooting scores. As Mia nodded and walked away, Blackwood noticed peculiar scar patterns on her upper back, partially visible above her tank top. Not bullet wounds or knife marks, something else entirely, like puncture wounds from something with multiple points. His instinct, honed through decades of combat, whispered a warning. There was more to Mia Rivers than her file suggested, much more. Later that night, Blackwood found himself in the base archives, pulling classified records from operations in the Gulf and Central America. His own missions during the Cold War had taught him that sometimes the greatest threats wore friendly uniforms. He'd watched too many good soldiers die from intelligence failures that seemed suspiciously convenient. Just before midnight, he found what he was looking for. Operation Bayou Serpent, a classified CIA initiative from 1983-1986, tracking Soviet weapons moving through Louisiana waterways to Central America. Among the civilian assets, Charles Charlie Rivers, former Special Forces, Vietnam veteran, killed in 1985 during a hunting accident. Father of Mia Rivers. Blackwood's jaw tightened. Too many coincidences for comfort. Building 237, Fort Bragg, 2,100 hours. The forgotten storage facility housed obsolete training equipment and dust-covered supplies. Blackwood waited inside, having dismissed the night guard with a gruff explanation about specialized training. When Mia arrived, she carried a long canvas bag. Lock the door, Blackwood instructed. She complied, then carefully unwrapped the contents of her bag. The crossbow that emerged wasn't a sporting model or hunting equipment. It was an elegant killing tool with a complex pulley system and composite limbs. Smaller than traditional designs, but clearly lethal. Family heirloom? Blackwood asked. My father's. Show me. Mia approached the target range, loading a metal bolt with practiced efficiency. Her entire demeanor transformed, the mechanical awkwardness with firearms gone, replaced by fluid confidence. She drew, aimed, and released in one smooth motion. The bolt struck dead center with enough force to penetrate body armor. Blackwood whistled softly. Now that's a connection. For the next hour, Mia demonstrated capabilities that defied conventional training. She could fire with accuracy while moving, from impossible angles, even after holding her breath for minutes. In the bayou, she explained, hunters learn different skills: patience, breath control, how to read water currents and use them. A bullet disturbs everything around it. A bolt can slip between moments, silent and precise. Blackwood leaned against a table, arms crossed. SEALs use standardized weapons for standardized operations, Rivers. That's the program. I know, Colonel. And how's that working out for you? The question hung between them, an acknowledgement of the obvious. Mia's firearm scores were improving, but would never match her crossbow mastery. War isn't standardized, Blackwood said finally. Never has been. The best operators adapt, improvise. He paused, weighing his next words carefully. During the Cold War, I led a team into East Berlin. Standard equipment, standard tactics. We lost 3 men because the enemy knew exactly what to expect from us. After that, I started developing unconventional methods. Command wanted them scrapped until those methods saved an entire diplomatic mission in '82. Mia studied him, cautious hope crossing her face. I can't promise they'll let you carry that into combat, Blackwood continued, but I can help you develop this skill alongside standard training. Sometimes the unexpected wins wars. Why would you help me? Blackwood's weathered face revealed nothing, but his mind traveled back to Panama, 1979. A night operation gone wrong, standard equipment failing in monsoon conditions, 23 good men lost. Because I've buried too many soldiers who followed the rulebook perfectly. CIA headquarters, Langley, Virginia, 1995. Deputy Director Victor Reynolds reviewed the latest intelligence reports on international terrorism with practiced detachment. At 53, his carefully groomed appearance projected the image of a seasoned professional, silver-tempered hair, bespoke suit, presidential fitness award framed prominently on his wall, alongside commendations from 3 administrations. Sir, we have concerning developments in the Louisiana pipeline, his assistant noted, placing a file on his desk. Satellite imagery shows increased activity in the old channels, matches patterns from the Soviet era. Reynolds' expression remained neutral, though his pulse quickened slightly. The Cold War Ghost Network? Interesting. Who's running it now? Unknown, sir, but they're moving something significant. And there's this. The assistant placed surveillance photos showing a familiar figure. Richard Davidson, former KGB contact, now running a private security firm. He's been spotted at 3 different locations along the old supply route. Reynolds nodded thoughtfully. Keep monitoring. No action yet. After his assistant left, Reynolds secured his office and retrieved a satellite phone from his personal safe. The connection took 30 seconds to establish. We may have a problem, he said without preamble. The old channels are being watched. Time to accelerate our timetable. The voice that responded carried the distinctive accent of Richard Davidson. Always so nervous, Victor. This is why you remained a bureaucrat while I built an empire. An empire built on my intelligence, Reynolds hissed. Don't forget who made you, Richard. Ancient history. What's the immediate concern? Increase surveillance on the bayou routes. We need to clean house. Eliminate loose ends. Already working on it. Speaking of loose ends, I've been reviewing personnel files from Fort Bragg. Something interesting appeared. A female SEAL candidate named Mia Rivers. Reynolds froze, memory suddenly connecting desperate threads. Rivers, from Louisiana? Daughter of Charlie Rivers, the one who nearly exposed us in '85. Charlie's daughter, Reynolds whispered, cold calculation replacing momentary surprise. Should we be concerned? Davidson asked. Reynolds considered carefully. Monitor for now. If she becomes problematic, we'll deal with her like we dealt with her father. After ending the call, Reynolds reviewed his contingency plans. Operation Bayou Serpent had been his first major success, playing both sides during the Cold War, selling intelligence to the Soviets while maintaining his CIA cover. When the Soviet Union collapsed, he simply found new buyers for American secrets. Terrorist organizations, weapons dealers, anyone with cash. The sudden appearance of Charlie Rivers' daughter was an unexpected complication, but Reynolds had eliminated complications for decades. One more wouldn't be difficult. Afghanistan, 1996. Mia's first deployment came faster than expected. A specialized task force targeting high-value targets along the Pakistan border. Lieutenant Jackson commanded the unit, a rising star with combat experience and political connections. During mission briefing, Jackson assigned roles with obvious skepticism toward Mia. Rivers, you'll handle communications and medical support. Stay with the equipment while we clear the compound. Mia acknowledged the order without complaint, but Jackson noted her restrained reaction. Problem with your assignment, specialist? No, sir. I'm qualified for forward operations if needed. Jackson studied her for a moment. This isn't training anymore, Rivers. My men have worked together for years. You're an unknown quantity. Understood, sir. After the briefing, Jackson approached her privately. Your file contains recommendations from Colonel Blackwood. He's not a man who gives praise easily. Mia maintained professional detachment. The colonel was a thorough instructor. He also noted your unique capabilities, said you're specially equipped for water-based infiltration and silent elimination. Jackson lowered his voice. The official assignment stands for now. Prove yourself reliable, and we'll see about expanding your role. The operation began with standard procedure. The team inserted via helicopter near a suspected Taliban compound, established a perimeter, and prepared for assault. Mia manned the communication equipment as ordered, monitoring frequencies while the assault team approached the target. Then everything went wrong. Sir, Mia's voice cut through the radio chatter. The hinges on the main entrance are reversed from our reconnaissance photos. Someone's modified it recently. Jackson paused at the entrance, examining the door. Good catch, Rivers. Daniels, check for traps. The demolition specialist's inspection confirmed Mia's suspicion. A pressure plate connected to explosives that would have killed the entire entry team. After disarming the trap, the team proceeded with heightened caution. Inside, they discovered not their high-value target, but detailed maps of the base they deployed from, attack plans, inside information. Jackson ordered immediate extraction, recognizing they'd stumbled into something beyond their mission parameters. As they moved to the extraction point, gunfire erupted from multiple directions, not random Taliban fighters, but a coordinated ambush by well-trained operators. The team took defensive positions in a dried riverbed. Command, we are compromised, Jackson reported through secure channels, requesting immediate air support. The response chilled everyone. Negative Bravo 6. All air assets committed elsewhere. Hold position. Mia caught Jackson's eye, both recognizing the impossibility of their situation. Someone had deliberately stripped their support. Sir, Mia said quietly, I can create a diversion. Draw them east while the team moves west to secondary extraction. That's suicide, Rivers. I can move through terrain they won't expect. Trust me. Something in her confidence persuaded him. Jackson nodded. You've got 5 minutes to position. When we hear your signal, we move. Mia slipped away, using the rocky terrain for cover. She reached a position overlooking the enemy's flank, deployed a modified flashbang, and launched it toward their position. The explosion created momentary chaos. As the enemy fighters redirected attention east, Jackson led the team west toward their secondary extraction point. Mia began her own escape, moving through narrow gullies that reminded her of Louisiana's waterways. She was halfway to the rendezvous when she heard the distinctive click of a detonator. The explosion came not from enemy territory, but from the direction of her own team. Ignoring safety protocols, Mia raced toward the blast site. She found carnage. 3 team members dead immediately, Jackson critically wounded, 2 others struggling to establish defensive positions. As Mia administered emergency medical treatment to Jackson, a second explosion tore through their position. The last thing she remembered was flying through the air, intense heat searing her face and chest, and a glimpse of a familiar figure watching from a ridge, a face she hadn't seen since childhood. Victor Reynolds. Then darkness claimed her. Walter Reed Medical Center, Washington, D.C. 3 weeks later, Mia awoke to find her face and chest bandaged. The pain came in waves, but medication kept it at a distance. What hurt worse was the official report she'd been shown once stable enough. Equipment malfunction, accidental detonation of ordnance during extraction. The comfortable lie protected someone, not her team, three of whom would never return home. Not Jackson, who remained in critical condition with spinal injuries. Not the surviving specialists, quietly reassigned to non-combat roles. This lie protected whoever had compromised their mission, whoever had known exactly where they would be and when. Military intelligence is investigating, the debriefing officer assured her, avoiding eye contact. These things take time. Mia recognized the bureaucratic burial when she heard it. As soon as she could walk, she used a secure phone to contact Blackwood. He arrived within hours, civilian clothes not disguising his military bearing. His face darkened, seeing her injuries. "They're calling it an accident," Mia said without preamble. Blackwood closed the door, checking for surveillance. "It wasn't. I know. What did you see?" Mia described everything. The modified door hinges, the coordinated ambush, the observer on the ridge. "He wasn't Taliban," she concluded. "The way he moved, observed. He was directing the entire operation." Blackwood nodded grimly. "I've been making inquiries. Your mission details were classified top secret. Only 6 people had access to your insertion timeline and coordinates. One of them set us up." "Yes." Blackwood hesitated. "There's something else you should know. The intelligence that identified your high-value target came through a special liaison officer, Victor Reynolds." The name hit Mia like a physical blow. "Reynolds? The same one who... the same one who gave up your father. He's risen through CIA ranks since then. Oversees all operations in Central and South America now. Recently expanded his portfolio to include certain Afghanistan operations." Mia's hands clenched the hospital sheets. "It can't be coincidence." "No, but proving it is another matter." Blackwood leaned closer. "Listen carefully. When you're released, they'll reassign you to support duties. Take the assignment. Keep your head down. Let them think you've accepted the official story. While Reynolds gets away with killing my teammates like he got away with my father. While I gather evidence," Blackwood said firmly, "this goes beyond Reynolds. Someone's running unauthorized operations, using American intelligence, feeding information to enemies, eliminating witnesses." Mia absorbed this, her tactical mind working through implications. "You think Reynolds recognized my name? Knew I was Charlie Rivers' daughter?" "It's possible, but there's a bigger picture here. Your father was investigating Soviet gunrunners in Louisiana. Your team was supposedly targeting Taliban. Different enemies, same pattern. Someone inside our system is playing both sides." Blackwood placed a hand on her uninjured shoulder. "I need time to map the network. Meanwhile, you need to survive. Can you do that? Can you play the damaged soldier while we prepare a proper response?" Mia thought of her father's crossbow, still hidden in her off-base apartment, of the modifications she and Blackwood had designed, of the promise she'd made standing over her father's unmarked grave. "Yes," she said finally, "I can play whatever role necessary." Fort Bragg Logistics Support Division, 1997. Mia Rivers moved through the supply warehouse with practiced efficiency, her scarred face partially hidden beneath the brim of her cap. 1 year after Afghanistan, the scars had faded from angry red to silver white, creating a web-like pattern across her left cheek and temple. Some soldiers stared, others pretended not to notice. All of them whispered when they thought she couldn't hear. Scarface, the damaged one. The woman who survived when real operators died. She let them talk. Her reassignment to logistics support had accomplished exactly what the higher-ups intended. Buried alive, hidden away from operational units and media scrutiny. The female SEAL experiment conveniently shelved without official cancellation. "Rivers," a voice called from the warehouse entrance. "Commander wants to see you." Mia acknowledged with a nod, removing her work gloves. As she passed rows of equipment destined for operators who would never know her name, She maintained the carefully constructed persona she'd cultivated since leaving Walter Reed. Respectful, competent, accepting of her diminished role. Inside, beneath that mask, a different Mia calculated, planned, and waited. Commander Phillips sat behind his desk reviewing personnel files. When Mia reported, his expression softened slightly. Not quite pity, but something adjacent. At ease, specialist. Take a seat. Mia complied, noting another file on his desk. Jackson James. Lieutenant? Lieutenant Jackson has been cleared to return to limited duty, Phillips said, watching her reaction closely. He's requested you for his support team. Mia kept her expression neutral despite the surge of emotion. Last she'd heard, Jackson was still undergoing rehabilitation for spinal injuries. I'm honored by his request, sir. Before you accept, you should understand the nature of the assignment. Jackson won't return to field operations. His injuries were too extensive. He's being assigned to intelligence analysis, focusing on cross-border terrorism networks. Mia's pulse quickened. Terrorism, sir. Yes, specifically tracking financial connections between former Soviet operatives and Middle Eastern extremist groups. Phillips paused significantly. The lieutenant believes these networks may relate to certain discrepancies he observed during your last deployment. The implication hung between them. Jackson hadn't accepted the official accident report either. When would I begin, sir? Immediately. You'll maintain your logistics position officially, but dedicate 20 hours weekly to Jackson's task force. Everything classified top secret. Phillips pushed a security badge across the desk. Report to Secure Analysis Wing. Room 237. Mia took the badge, recognizing the room number. The same as Blackwood's training space. Coincidence or deliberate signal? Thank you, sir. I won't disappoint Lieutenant Jackson. I'm sure you won't. Phillips hesitated. One more thing, Rivers. This reassignment was approved through unusual channels. Deputy Director clearance from Langley, bypassing normal procedures. CIA involvement. Unusual approval. Understood, sir. Tread carefully, Phillips added quietly. Jackson made some uncomfortable allegations during his recovery. Certain people would prefer those allegations remain unexplored. Mia nodded, understanding completely. This wasn't a lifeline. It was potentially another trap. Room 237 had been transformed from storage space to intelligence center. Computer stations lined walls covered with maps, financial charts, and surveillance photos. At the center sat James Jackson, his wheelchair positioned before multiple monitors displaying data streams. When Mia entered, Jackson looked up, his face weathered beyond his years. Where Afghanistan had marked Mia's face, it had aged Jackson's entire being. His previously athletic frame had thinned, shoulders slightly hunched from months in hospital beds. But his eyes remained sharp, observant. Permission to speak freely, sir, Mia asked after standard greetings. Granted, and drop the sir when we're alone. This task force operates outside normal command structures. Mia studied the room, noting camera positions and potential listening devices. Is this space secure? Jackson smiled thinly. Swept hourly by equipment Blackwood provided. We have approximately 12 minutes of guaranteed privacy per sweep. At Blackwood's name, Mia relaxed marginally. I thought you might blame me, she admitted, for Afghanistan. Why? Because you spotted the trap before anyone else? Jackson maneuvered his wheelchair closer. 3 months in hospitals gives a man time to review mission details obsessively. You warned us about the door. You noticed the observer. You created the diversion that should have saved us but didn't, because someone triggered those secondary explosives remotely using our own frequencies. Jackson's voice hardened. I've spent a year gathering evidence of a coordinated infiltration network within our intelligence apparatus, controlled by someone with top-level access. He gestured toward the wall of interconnected data. Mia approached, seeing surveillance photos of known terrorists alongside former Soviet operatives, bank transfers, weapon shipments, and at the center, a single photograph partially obscured by classification markers, Victor Reynolds. The CIA calls him their Central Asia expert, Jackson explained. 20-year veteran specializing in Soviet operations, expanded his portfolio after the fall of the Berlin Wall to include terrorism financing. Convenient positioning. Extremely, Mia observed. Every operation compromised over the past 5 years passed through his office at some point. Jackson lowered his voice further. Blackwood believes Reynolds has been playing both sides for decades, using American intelligence to eliminate rivals while feeding information to protected assets. Mia studied the interconnected evidence. My father tried exposing this in 1985. It got him killed. I know. Blackwood shared your background after Afghanistan. Jackson met her gaze directly. That's why I requested you specifically. This isn't just about what happened to our team. It's about a cancer that's been growing for decades. Mia processed this, decades of hidden purpose suddenly crystallizing into actionable intelligence. What's our next step? Blackwood has tracked Reynolds' movements for months. He's identified a pattern. Jackson pulled up a classified operational schedule. Every 6 weeks, Reynolds personally inspects a supposed CIA listening post in northern Louisiana, officially monitoring terrorist communications. Unofficially, according to Blackwood's sources, it's a coordination center. Reynolds meets his primary contact there, Richard Davidson. The name struck Mia like a physical blow. Davidson? The same one who executed the raid on your village. Yes. Jackson watched her reaction carefully. Davidson has expanded operations significantly since then. Controls river transportation for 3 major weapons networks, uses military-grade equipment, has former Special Forces operators on payroll. Mia controlled her breathing, her father's training asserting itself. You're building a case against them. We were, Jackson corrected, until yesterday when this came through official channels. He displayed a mission brief, Operation Kingfisher, SEAL Team Deployment to Louisiana. Objective, destroy fuel depot supplying terrorist river operations. Intelligence provided by Reynolds himself. Jackson noted, deployment in 3 days, 8-man team. Mia studied the operational details, recognizing the trap immediately. The location is a killing zone, river convergence with elevated positions on all sides, limited extraction options. Exactly. Someone setting up another expendable team. Jackson's voice tightened with controlled fury. And guess who personally approved the intelligence assessment? Reynolds, the same man who got your father killed, the same man who arranged our accident in Afghanistan. Now sending more good soldiers into another trap. Mia felt cold certainty settling into her bones. Have you reported your concerns? To whom? The operation was approved at the highest levels. Any objection gets classified as PTSD-related paranoia from a wounded officer. Jackson gestured to his wheelchair bitterly. I've tried through 3 separate channels, all blocked. Mia considered their limited options. Who's leading the SEAL team? Captain Parker, veteran operator, leads from the front. Good man. Jackson pulled up the team roster. Williams, Cooper, Johnson, Martinez. Solid operators. Mia recognized the names. Parker had been skeptical of female SEALs during her training. The others were experienced operators with multiple deployments. Good men being sent to die. We need to warn them. How? Parker would report any unofficial communication immediately. By the book operator. Mia thought carefully, considering angles and approaches like her father had taught her on river hunts. Not warn them directly, join them. Jackson blinked in surprise. You've been administratively removed from combat operations. On paper, but my medical clearance was reinstated last month. Mia leaned forward, intensity breaking through her carefully maintained facade. Parker needs a communications specialist with regional knowledge. I speak fluent Cajun French, understand river navigation patterns, and maintain appropriate clearances. They'll never approve a direct combat role. I'm not asking for one. Support position only, communications and medical backup. Jackson considered, wheels turning behind his tactical mind. Reynolds wouldn't expect you. He believes you've been neutralized career-wise. Exactly. I'll be invisible to him. Just another support specialist assigned last minute. Even if I could arrange it, you'd be walking into a trap you already know exists. Mia's scarred face revealed nothing, but her eyes burned with purpose. Some traps can be reversed on those who set them. Understanding dawned on Jackson's face. You've been preparing for something like this since the day I left Walter Reed. Jackson nodded slowly. Decision made. I can get you assigned through Phillips, medical support specialist with regional knowledge. He held her gaze. But you understand what you're volunteering for. If Reynolds realizes who you are, he won't just try to kill you, he'll erase you completely. He can try, Mia said simply. Others have failed. As she left the secure room, Mia felt a strange sense of inevitability. The path that had begun with her father's murder was finally leading to its destination. Not justice through courts or official channels, but justice delivered from the shadows, from the water, from the places men like Reynolds never thought to look. Louisiana Bayou, Operation Kingfisher. The humid air clung to exposed skin like a living thing. 6 SEAL operators and 2 support personnel moved silently through chest-deep water, following Captain Parker's lead. Night vision goggles transformed the swamp into an eerie green landscape where shadows seemed to move with unnatural purpose. Mia, positioned at the rear with Williams, monitored communication frequencies and tracked their progress against satellite imagery. The pre-mission briefing had described minimal resistance at the target, a fuel depot supplying terrorist operations throughout the region. The intelligence was a deliberate lie. Blackwood sources confirmed at least 50 combatants with heavy weapons awaiting the team. Many former Spetsnaz operators from the collapse of the Soviet Union, now working as private contractors under Davidson. Something feels off, Williams whispered as they established the communications relay at Checkpoint Bravo, 2 kilometers from the target. Water patterns are wrong, too much displacement upstream. Mia nodded, impressed by his observation. Most operators wouldn't notice such subtle environmental cues. Heavy boat traffic recently, consistent with preparations for an ambush. Williams studied her with sudden intensity. You've been in these waters before. I grew up here. He processed this, decades of operational experience evident in his measured response. They didn't mention that in the briefing. There's a lot they didn't mention. As Parker's assault team disappeared into the darkness, Williams turned to Mia. Establish secondary communications while I configure primary channels. Yes, sir. The moment Williams focused on his equipment, Mia activated Blackwood's secure communication device, sending a single encrypted pulse, confirmation of position, alert that operational timeline had commenced. The response came immediately. 3 quick pulses, Blackwood confirming receipt. While maintaining her cover activities, Mia subtly assessed their defensive position. Checkpoint Bravo sat on slightly elevated ground overlooking a river bend. Good visibility in 3 directions. Limited approach vectors for potential hostiles. Defensible if properly prepared. Primary channels established, Williams reported, adjusting equipment settings. Assault team proceeding on schedule. Mia nodded, continuing her assigned task while planning her next moves. The assault team would reach the target location within 30 minutes. Reynolds' ambush would likely activate within 40 minutes, when Parker's team was fully committed to demolition placement. Williams had positioned himself facing the direction the assault team had departed, monitoring their progress. His back was now to Mia, his attention focused elsewhere. With practiced efficiency, Mia retrieved her crossbow components from their disguised containers, assembling the weapon with movements so fluid they seemed choreographed. Carbon fiber limbs locked into position, firing mechanism calibrated, first specialized bolt loaded and secured. Just as she completed assembly, Williams spoke without turning. "I was wondering what you really brought along." Mia froze, crossbow held at ready position. Williams slowly turned, taking in the weapon with professional assessment rather than surprise. "That's not standard issue." "No." "Expecting trouble beyond the mission parameters?" Mia calculated options rapidly, assessing Williams' tone and body language. Not hostile, not threatening to report her unauthorized equipment. Curious, cautious, perhaps even expectant. "This operation isn't what Parker believes," she said carefully. Williams nodded slowly. "I suspected as much. Intelligence too clean, too convenient." He studied her scarred face with new understanding. "You're not here for communication support." "No." "Afghanistan wasn't an accident." "No." Williams processed this, decades of operational experience evident in his measured response. "The target location is a trap." "Yes." "At least 50 combatants with heavy weapons, professionally positioned, waiting for Parker's team to reach optimal kill zone." Instead of disbelief, Williams checked his watch. "They'll reach target position in approximately 20 minutes. Spring the trap 10 minutes after that." "Yes." "Why tell me this now?" Mia met his gaze directly. "Because in approximately 40 minutes, this position will be attacked as well. Secondary elimination team to ensure no witnesses." Williams absorbed this without visible emotion, professional training overriding natural fear responses. "You knew this coming in. You have a counter-operation planned?" "Yes." "Authorized?" "Not officially." Williams nodded, decision already made. "What do you need from me?" "Continue monitoring communications. Alert me immediately if assault team reports contact." Mia checked her crossbow one final time. "And be prepared to render medical assistance when this turns violent." "Where are you going?" Mia moved toward the perimeter, crossbow held at ready position. "To ensure the hunters become the hunted." As she disappeared into the rain-soaked vegetation, Williams returned to his equipment with renewed vigilance. Like any veteran operator, he recognized the momentous shift that had just occurred. The mission parameters had fundamentally changed, official objectives revealed as deadly deception. Mia moved through the bayou with the assured confidence of someone returning to childhood hunting grounds. Each step calculated, each movement purposeful. The crossbow in her hands felt like an extension of her body. The weapon her father had taught her to use, now modified for a very different kind of hunt. She positioned herself on elevated ground, overlooking the approach vectors enemy forces would likely use. Concealed within dense foliage, she became virtually invisible, the patient predator waiting for prey to reveal itself. Through her mind ran calculations and contingencies. Parker's team had approximately 15 minutes before walking into Reynolds' ambush. When that happened, secondary forces would move to eliminate the communication team at Checkpoint Bravo. Mia regulated her breathing to the rhythm her father had taught her, heartbeats slowing to a measured cadence, one with the environment, invisible until the moment of action. The bayou would soon run red with blood. The only question remaining was whose blood would feed its endless hunger for justice. What happened next would become whispered legend among special operations communities worldwide. The ghost of the bayou. The woman who emerged from water to change the course of modern counterterrorism. The operative who exposed the deepest betrayal in CIA history. When Reynolds' trap closed around Captain Parker's team, When 50 mercenaries prepared to eliminate American operators and bury the evidence, they found themselves hunted instead. Silent bolts from impossible angles, devastating explosions that seemed to anticipate their movements, a phantom that appeared and disappeared beneath the water's surface, leaving only death in her wake. "Don't breathe," the mercenaries whispered in terror. "She's here, the river ghost." The operation that was meant to eliminate witnesses became the very evidence that brought down a decades-long conspiracy. Reynolds and Davidson were captured alive, their extensive documentation of Soviet-era operations continuing into the modern terrorism era became the foundation for the most comprehensive intelligence reform in American history. 6 months later, a congressional hearing concluded behind closed doors. The Washington Post ran a carefully redacted front-page story. CIA Deputy Director among 17 officials indicted in unprecedented treason case. The CIA Director faced cameras outside Langley, his expression grave as he announced comprehensive oversight reforms. The actions of these individuals represent the most severe breach of trust in agency history. We have implemented new command protocols, enhanced internal accountability measures, and established an independent oversight committee with direct congressional reporting authority. For the intelligence community, the shock waves continued reverberating. The phrase Kingfisher Protocol entered the classified lexicon, shorthand for the new countermeasures designed to prevent another Reynolds from emerging within the system. In a small cemetery overlooking Louisiana's Bayou Teche, Mia Rivers stood before a simple stone bearing her father's name. The physical scars on her face had faded to silvery lines, marks of survival rather than disfigurement. Lieutenant Jackson stood beside her, now able to stand with braces, his spine partially healed through experimental surgery. "Your father would be proud," he said quietly. Mia placed a bullet casing atop the stone, the one recovered from Jackson's spine during his surgeries. The physical manifestation of Reynolds's betrayal now transformed into a symbol of completed justice. "It's done, Papa," she said softly. "The men who took you are facing justice. The system that allowed it is being reformed." She touched the scarred surface of her face. "You taught me the river doesn't forgive, but it does transform. It takes what falls into it and creates something new." At Fort Bragg, a new training program was already underway. Colonel Blackwood, postponing retirement indefinitely, supervised as Captain Parker directed operators through specialized water infiltration techniques. The program's official designation, Unconventional Tactical and Survival Skills, UTSS. Mia would soon return there as lead instructor, transforming her father's legacy into something that would save countless American lives. The crossbow techniques, breath control methods, and water movement patterns she'd learned as a child would become part of official special operations doctrine. No longer dismissed as non-standard, but recognized as essential adaptations. On the wall of the new training center hung a simple wooden crossbow with a small plaque beneath it. "The most effective weapon isn't what you carry, but what you become." The ghost of the bayou had found her peace, and America's enemies had gained a new reason to fear the water.